Before I start this episode, I just want to make the disclaimer that my intention is not to ridicule or make light of the experience of living with ADHD. I am purely providing a personal account of the things that I experience and hoping that actually acts as a catalyst for getting myself help more than anything, but also that if anyone does relate, perhaps that will also act as a catalyst for you to get help. Cool. If you are new here, welcome to Call It Growth. Welcome to the podcast. On Call It Growth, we connect through sharing stories and having conversations that supports our limitless growth, healing, and becoming, and we do so alongside anyone and everyone that finds safety and comfort on this space. I've realized that my intro takes a good 5 minutes for me to take. I don't know why I came up with such a long intro, but it's also important for me to it's important for me to say it to ground myself and to almost open up the intention of each and every video. But anyway, today's episode is around figuring out whether or not we are a little neurospicy. I've titled it, Is It ADHD? And this idea came to me because I got to a point in the past few months where I have been essentially living my life like I have ADHD and looking at resources and videos and reading about the experience of living with ADHD in hopes that it will maybe I don't know, I suppose get help in the areas of my life that I struggle with. I don't recommend self-diagnosis. However, I think that self-diagnosing, or rather I don't know what to call it, but the idea of looking at symptoms and relating those back to yourself is actually quite like it's not something that I would shun per se. Because I mean, you do that when you've got the flu, right? You're like, I've got a cough, I have a bit of a fever, it could be flu, let me go to the doctor, something like that. So when it comes to mental health or mental illnesses, I don't necessarily shun the idea of saying, hey, I have one, two, three, four, five symptoms. It could be ADHD, though I think in some instances it can get to levels of being unsafe and also being weaponized. But yeah, I don't want to actually go into that conversation. This is not the video for that. But I think that I have sort of been looking at symptoms of ADHD and having a slight inkling that I might have ADHD. But this is not the first time that this inkling is coming about, and I'll tell the story of how we got to this point. So I had the idea because I want to at some point seek help when I finally reach out to my therapist this year. Um, yeah, it got weird. I there was one time my therapist and I were meant to have a session and I wasn't feeling well, and then I cancelled it and I said I'm gonna reach out again, and it's been 3 months or more. So there's that, and I'm super embarrassed and I don't know how to navigate that. But at some point I will reach out or find a new therapist. We only had a few sessions anyway, so I don't mind kind of building a relationship with someone else. And so I want to get diagnosed at some point or help to uncover if it's not ADHD, what is happening, right? And that's because there's a couple of things on a symptomatic level that I feel like I check the list of, and it's gotten me thinking, what if we actually went through the symptoms together and I actually gave an account of the symptoms manifesting in my life and we can figure out if I have ADHD together. Obviously not in this video, but this is step one, is to kind of go through the symptoms, do a bit of a checklist, and at some point I will reach out to my therapist and actually initiate the conversation of potentially getting a diagnosis. If you or anyone that you know is living with ADHD, this is the part where you come forward and you actually help the girls, because I have I've heard different stories. I've heard people saying that you need to be diagnosed before you are 12 in order to get any sort of cover for ADHD through medical aid. And that's also in the private health realm of things. But in the public health realm, I know nothing about how to access help for mental illness in general, but in particular ADHD. So if you know someone or if you are someone living with ADHD, can you give us a step by step guide on what to do in order to get diagnosed? Because I particularly have just I have trauma with my medical aid, so I'm not willing to start that journey and then discover things. If anyone has done the research or has gone through it, please share it with us. But when I eventually get to a point of going through it, I will share every step. So if you're curious about how to get help, then you will see it through my journey. So perhaps this is episode 1 of the Is It ADHD series. Cool. So we're going to go through a list of symptoms that I found on the internet. I don't know what a reputable site is. Every time I say the word reputable, I feel like I'm saying it wrong. But anyway, I don't know what a reputable site is for like the medical stuff. I know doctors and stuff are always saying, don't look at your symptoms on Google. But I mean, what else do we have? Because especially mental health care, is so expensive. Cool. So I'm going to go through this. Oh, the story about how we got the inkling. So I had a friend years ago. She was living with ADHD. She was diagnosed. She was on medication. She actually was struggling quite a bit. And you could see kind of, I want to say, the symptoms manifest in her life and actually causing her a lot of difficulty. You could also see it in the friendship, right? But she had a tendency of, whenever I would post stories or say something about what I'm thinking, I've been sharing for as long as I can remember, it seems. Whenever I would share anything on my stories, she would tie that to my potentially having ADHD. That at the time really upset me because imagine you come imagine you come to someone. I mean, I'm not a stranger, but we were also very early in our friendship where I felt like that is a conversation that could have been treated with a little bit more sensitivity. But imagine coming up to a friend you've had for a year and be like, friend, I think you have this life changing mental illness that you've probably been struggling with for years, not knowing. And what you're doing now is exactly that. I feel like it could have been a different conversation to have, especially being someone that didn't know anything about ADHD, but also it's a lot to kind of hear and receive as new information. And she did that repeatedly. So anything I did or said was like, hey, you're neurodivergent. And I was like, I got a bit tired of it. It's not eventually why we fell out. But when we did fall out, that's also, I was like, I didn't communicate this to them at the time, but I did communicate to my partner about the fact that this was actually happening and it was really upsetting me. Only for me to work with a colleague years later. And at this point, I had done a bit of reading, I had done a bit of, watched a little bit of videos, and everyone on TikTok is talking about it. And I was like, hey, this is not too far off from my experience. So maybe there's something there. And then in my previous company, I worked with a colleague, later turned to be a friend, who would be like, Masachaba, I feel like you have ADHD, babes. Like, she would notice things about me. For example, she would always notice that she said self-soothing. So, like, whenever there's a bunch of stuff happening around me, I would either be biting my nails or I would do like a facial expression or like a hand, like I would do something that she would be like, do you feel like you need to kind of calm yourself down in this moment? You are probably self-soothing. And then she also say, what's the other word? I forget it. But when you do something repeatedly, she'd also pick up on that. She'd also pick up on how overwhelmed I would get when multiple people are talking to me in the office. And like when there's office banter, you would get someone really blah, 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 and then someone else wants to comment. I would immediately tap out because I actually can't hear when multiple people are speaking at a time, right? But in a way that actually overstimulates me. So those are the two times where people have said, girl, something might be happening, check it out. At the first time I was a bit upset. The second time I was fine with it because I was like, actually, you know what? It's not, it's bad, but it's not also the end of the world. I've been okay up to this point, so I think I'll be okay still, maybe with a little bit of extra help. So I want to go through 10 symptoms that could be apparent in adults with ADHD. And then this article also recommends when to get help. I can already say that I watched a video before this and then read another article, and both sources of information have recommended that you seek help if five, the one said five, the one said six or more of those symptoms relate to you. So we might do a bit of a counter to see where we stand, but let's go for it anyway. So number one, okay, it goes through what ADHD is, and maybe I should read that also so that this is a fruitful conversation. So this is a definition by add.org. I'm not sure if this is a reputable site. So if anything here is not truthful, please highlight it so that we can flag that, like please flag it, so that we take it with a grain of salt. So it says ADHD, or attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, is a form of neurodivergence that affects how the brain works. In adults, it typically involves a persistent pattern of inattention or hyperactive and impulsive behaviors. I've also learned that there's 3 types of ADHD. The one is where hyperactivity is present, the other one is where inattention is present, and then the last one is where it's combined, where you have a bit of hyperactivity and a bit of inattention. Yeah, so predominantly inattentive ADHD, predominantly hyperactive or impulsive ADHD, and then the combined type. And then it goes into the definitions. Okay, so the 10 signs. These are signs. Don't use these as truth or a medical diagnosis. Let's get the help that we need. Okay, so number 1, trouble focusing or paying attention. You are easily distracted, you daydream, you zone out during conversations, you overlook instructions and details, or you are unable to finish projects or tasks on time. Definitely zoning out during conversations. I think that, yeah, yeah, for sure. Like when I speak, my partner is someone that tends to be very thorough in their thoughts and wants to communicate things, the full detail of what they're thinking. Oftentimes, as they speak, I will catch myself only hearing the beginning of their point and the last part of their point. The beginning because it's fresh, and then the last part because I'm actually like, hey, you actually, like, where are you? Come back. But I do tend to zone out during and I'm just staring at them talking, even with my friends, like, and I don't think people are aware. Can you actually tell? Are you able to tell if someone has zoned out during a conversation? Because I can't unless they start fidgeting, which is another thing that I do. So, like, if they've been talking for a while, then I'll need to, like, I'll pick up my phone, or like, I don't know, I need to move. I need to do something if it has been quite a long time. He has raised that it feels like I'm not giving him my undivided attention, and it's a bit rude. I get it. I acknowledge that, and I have no excuse for it. Actually, despite the fact that it might be or might not be ADHD, it is actually a rude thing to do, to zone out while someone is talking, or to butt in, which is something I used to do in the past, where like he would say something and then I'd immediately like catch on that point and then jump in before his point is complete. I've been called out for it and I'm working on it. But yeah, so travel focusing and or paying attention. This is also at work. Actually, I also have a manager who has to be thorough with their thoughts, and I'm not going to lie, I do zone out sometimes. Like, it's also why for me, I truly, truly believe that meetings should be maximum 20 minutes. If you can't talk about anything for 20 minutes, that's funny because my podcast is usually over 20 minutes and I edit about half of the time. But if we can't actually talk about something in 20 minutes and get it done, I don't know if we should be talking. Things like team meetings, those big meetings or board meetings, whatever, best believe that I'm going in like in intervals of 20 minutes. I'm there and then I'm not there. So yeah, I do struggle with that a lot at work. And then struggling with finishing tasks for sure, especially if something doesn't excite me or is boring. I don't know. I'm working on a very boring project right now and there's nothing lined up and there's no deadline or anything. And I'm taking quite a while. I notice in stand up, I'm always saying I'm working on this, which I am, but I'm only doing so much in the day, and I have to find other things during the day to kind of stimulate me or give me excitement. I think if there was a deadline, I would finish it because I work well under pressure. But yeah, so the daydreaming happens a lot. I enjoy it though. Like I really enjoy just chilling and thinking of a life that is so far away from me, but also so possible. Like, why can't I be living in a 5-story house with a pool and a Victorian themed kitchen and a 6 burner stove? Why can't that be things I think about? Like, how do you separate daydreaming from like, just having visions and dreams for yourself? I suppose if you do it at the rate that I do it. Also, shower time is my favorite because that's when I actually tap out. Like, shower time for me is we're not existing in this reality. We're using the shower to think of a different life for ourselves. Which, yeah, love that for me. I honestly don't hate it. So number 2, losing things frequently. This one really drives me up the wall because I've had stuff stolen from me when I was younger. And every time I lose something, I default to the fact that someone might have taken it, right? And that's weird because nobody's going to take the stuff that I own in this house, which means I've lost it, but I have no idea where. Like the other day, I realized that I lost my cuticle pusher, and it's such a beautiful rose gold cuticle pusher. I mean, I can get another one fine, which reminds me, I actually need to buy a cuticle pusher because I want to install press-ons. But it drives me up the wall because where could it be? It's not in the place where I organize my stuff. It's not anywhere. So where could I have lost it if I did lose it? And I know I'm gonna find it. Actually going to annoy me. But I lose things quite a lot. I struggle from that thing of like where you put something, you forget where you've put it. Um yeah, it happens. Cool. Chronic lateness and poor time management. That's number 3. I'm not late chronically. Like I'm not, well, I do arrive at work pretty late, but that's also because going to the office when you typically work from home is weird because working from home, you don't need to wake up 2 hours earlier. But when you go to the office, you wake up 2 hours earlier, you're still not on time. Like it's been such an adjustment going back to the office, but I only go once a week. And I've made it and I think that's okay. But I don't struggle with being late. I struggle with not being able to calculate how much time things will take. I am such a believer that I can get my makeup done in 20 minutes max, which I can really, but I also live 40 minutes away from the city center. And I always think that I can get ready in an hour, inclusive of makeup and travel time. Luckily, I have friends that are almost always later than me. So it saves me a bit, except for times when I go to events and events have like a specific start time, then it has nothing like my friends are not my excuse in that point, because I'm usually like scrambling, like over, I don't know how to call it, but like under so much pressure and like really tensed up and really anxious in order to make sure that I leave my house on time to make it on time. So that's the part that I struggle with. Otherwise, I'm not always late with stuff. I think I manage my time pretty well. So I have time blindness. I don't necessarily, yeah, I'm not usually too late. Forgetting dates and times, also not so much, because I actually live on my calendar now, which is one of the things I started adopting in my life because had the suspicion that I might have ADHD. I said, I'm going to put everything down because otherwise I forget. I forget so much. And it's actually weird because I tell people this all the time. They'll be like, oh, you know this movie character from that movie. By the time the movie gets to the end, I have no idea how it started. That is how forgetful I have grown to become. So I won't remember the movie character, never mind their real name, because I won't remember what happened in the movie. I have a friend who she was telling us stories of stuff that happened in high school, and she's always like, you remember that? I remember people though. That I do remember, name and surname. But events, I don't remember events. And yeah, I don't know if there's a pattern there, but I don't remember events, I remember people. I completely forget what happened in the movie. Like I don't remember movies. I don't remember characters or like people, you know when you do like pop quiz or whatever, pub quiz, those types of things, and people know movie star characters. I'm like, how? Because yeah. But that's just me. I don't forget dates and times anymore because I log everything on my calendar. If it's not on my calendar, it does not exist. And that's also my motto at work because people like having like meetings on the no meetings on the fly, but it's really to help me manage myself. Impulsivity and risk taking. So as soon as I saw this, I said yes because I see this a lot in my finances. I have had a budget for the past 2 years, for as long as I started working, 3 years maybe. I have never stuck to it. And have a feeling that my bank rips me off, or the currency that my bank uses is different from the national currency, because I'm always at some stage running out of money. But when you really, really think about it, I'm the one that uses the money because I buy things on impulse, and I'm trying to exercise so much discipline in terms of money, because then how else are things going to work? But this is an area of my life I really, really need a lot of help with. I don't think I need a budget. I need to lock my money away. That's it. Because if it's there, it's going to get spent. Do I enjoy the spending? Sure. But I also, later on, I'm like, oh my gosh, I've actually used so much money. It's embarrassing. So yeah, I get impulsive in that sense. They also say starting arguments or fights. I avoid fights with everything in me. Reckless driving, I don't drive, so can't relate. Substance use, alcohol or drugs. I have gotten into the vape quite intensely so. And I'm trying to be off the vape now. But when I was in it like last year, I, I was investing. When I say investing, I mean I was putting money, I was planning it in my budget. That's how intense it was. I've managed to reduce that significantly. Like a month could go, a few weeks could go without me buying a vape. And when I do buy one, it's like socially, and then it's done. But yeah, risky sex related decisions, no. Gambling, no. I actually don't even want to see a betting site because I feel like I'm the spec for that. Impulsive eating, this I do struggle with. Also, another thing of if it's there, it needs to be used up. Okay, difficulty listening and following instructions. So you may struggle with waiting your turn to speak, staying on topic. Yep. Keeping track of the conversation. Yeah, because I struggle to keep track of it because I'm the one that loses track of the conversation. And then I feel so bad. Oh, in terms of forgetting things, I wanted to say this when I was thinking about this conversation. There's an email I got years ago. I think it was in 2022 when I was first creating the podcast from someone. And I opened that email and I read it and I was like, oh my gosh, this is the sweetest thing anyone has ever said to me. I need to actually continue making content. Then I closed my emails and then I remembered like 3 months later, I was also not in a good space. So I was like, actually, no. 3 months later, I remembered I opened it. And then, long story short, I haven't responded to that email. But I think about it so much and I feel so bad because someone went out of their way. And this is the type of stuff like you see happen for big content creators. Like someone will be like, oh my gosh, you have like, you do such, this is so cool for you to do. And someone did that for me when I was barely a few episodes in and I still haven't responded. And I just want you to know, I want you to know that I still feel bad. If you ever come across this video and you get to this point, I still feel bad. So if you do get to this point and you're the person that sent me the email, I owe you lunch. Let's actually go and have some lunch and let's talk about healing and have conversations and stuff. Yeah, because I will keep to it. I'm gonna put it in my calendar, right? Talking too fast, yes. Because I'm trying to get stuff out of my mind as quick as possible. Speaking too much, yeah. Blurting out words that make others uncomfortable. I haven't picked this up. I haven't picked up when I make other people uncomfortable. So if I do that, important for you to point it out. Unable to read other people's body language. I don't think I struggle with this. Struggles with prioritizing tasks. So feeling like I have too much to do. I always feel like I have too much. Don't we have too much to do as adults in general? I don't think, yes, I struggle with this, but I also don't think it's stemming from potential ADHD. I think we have a lot to do. We have taxes. We just, please do your taxes also. We have taxes to do. We need to wash dishes. We need to clean. We need to do our laundry. I actually need to wash my gym stuff for gym tomorrow. I'm recording this at 10:30 in the evening. I need to sleep. We have a lot of stuff to do. I need to respond to that email that I didn't respond to. I really think we or I really think we have a lot to do as adults. And I also think in the times that we are in at the level of content and information we are processing, it just feels like there's always a lot going on. But maybe that's just me. So yeah. All tasks feel equally important. Yeah, I mean, I need to do my laundry and file my taxes. I think both need to happen. Um, unless it's a deadline or like something burning for me to do something, I really think like it's all important, like work and scheduling my doctor's appointment are equally important. I don't see how things can be non-important because if that's the case, you leave them for much, much later in life. This is not to say I've got all my stuff in order. I'm saying that if two things occur in my brain as things that need to be done, not one is more important than the other. That's just me. Difficulty thinking ahead. I don't know. I don't know. I think ahead to an extent. I don't know. Adults with ADHD also tend to procrastinate on tasks that require more focus and attention. True, same, leading to missed deadlines and workplace issues. I don't have any of this. I do work in a fairly chilled environment, but also when it comes to deadline, when it comes to something with a deadline, I can whip out anything at any time. That's one of the strengths of my brain is that it can perform pretty well if something I fear being embarrassed and being humiliated for not getting anything done. Because work and it's weird stuff. So it can never be me. But I have never worked in a high stress environment that something like that would happen. Number 7, relationship struggles and communication issues. It says that some ADHD traits that might lead to relationship strains include speaking over the other person, not actively listening to the other person. Yeah, forgetting important events and dates. I do forget people's birthdays, and I always feel like every time it's someone's birthday, I put it on my calendar to repeat, but it never happens. And every time it's someone's birthday, like I know the other day I was like, it's the 1st of August, it's Tebi's birthday. Like, so I'd have to see someone post about them before I wish them a happy birthday, because I feel like I always have it wrong. And I was like, is it on the 4th? Is it on the 1st? Um, Mind you, it's on the day, so yeah, I need to work on that. But I put it on my calendar now, so it should remind me next year. Failing to fulfill responsibilities, commitments, or promises. I used to flake a lot. Just be the friend that doesn't feel like, or making excuses when it gets to the day. But now I feel like I've gotten better. I'm initiating more hangouts, and I push myself to show up for the hangouts. Blurting out hurtful statements. I don't know. I think someone would need to tell me that I do this a lot before I know it. Probably comes from a lack of self-awareness. I don't know, but I don't know. Someone would need to tell me, "Hey, that was hurtful," in order for me to know. Number 8, hyperactivity or restlessness. Flight of thoughts. I don't know what that is. Constant fidgeting. To an extent, tics and impulsive behavior. Oh, stimming. She was the colleague at work was saying that I was stimming, so trying to like regulate myself through a repeated action. Overthinking and catastrophizing. I always thought that came from a point of anxiety, which is interesting because I've seen somewhere where they say that ADHD in adults can often be misdiagnosed as anxiety and or depression. It would be interesting to see how the rest of my journey goes, and if that is what potentially happened there years ago. Forgetfulness and working memory issues. I feel like we've spoken about this. Forgetting things on grocery lists, leaving essential items at home. Yep, losing track of belongings. But I also, at what point do we draw the line, right? At what point rereading sections of text due to not retaining information? Okay, I'm going to do number 10, and then I'm going to go back to the points I wanted to raise. The last one is emotional outbursts and irritability. So, impatience when under stress. I feel like I'm impatient all the time, but worse when I'm under stress. But I also don't know if that's related to living with hypothyroidism, which actually makes you anxious. I don't know. I'm thinking of something else around these symptoms, which I'm going to talk about now. Explosive outbursts of anger. I don't know. Persistent irritability, yes. But like persistent, I don't know. I think it comes in bursts. Frequent and reactive mood changes. I don't know. When does it become about the fact that as women, we go through, or people that have periods also go through phases, and you have like 2 weeks of your life really to feel normal? Okay, that was the last point. I mean, it seems like we relate to a lot of the symptoms, but for me, the big question is like, when do we draw the line? I mean, is it a case of multiple of these things are happening? Although even the many symptoms do feel like normal human, you know, normal ways in which humans show up. I don't know. I don't know. But like I said, two people have brought this up with me before. I am at a point where I'm essentially using tools that I'm finding on the internet to manage some of the things that I mentioned in this video, because it does get to a point where even though I forget stuff, it happens all the time. Like I'm always forgetting something. So I'm a bit like, okay, girl. Is it ADHD? What do you think? What do you honestly think? And I 100% am not going to take your thoughts as truth either. But what do you actually think? I think it is. I really, really think it is. And I don't know what to do with that information. The only thing I know, so I mean, some of the things I've heard is you need to, your therapist will, I suppose, be instrumental in getting you to get your diagnosis. I've heard there's like a 5 day or 5 hour observation you need to go through where you basically get watched and given a set tasks to do or something like that in order for you to get diagnosed. I don't know what to do and I don't know what to expect, but the next steps for me is to actually do some research about it and update you on how that goes at some point. Yeah. I mean, if it were to be ADHD, I think I'm at a point where I'm like, it's fine. I think there are extreme ways in which neurodivergence can show up in other people's lives. I mean, some people with autism are nonverbal, and I think while there's no comparative list of what's worse, I'm able to function to an extent. And I suppose in some instance, I've read also about unmasking and where that's when the body goes into a state of fatigue and exhaustion from what masking is defined as you doing certain things to cover up your symptoms, right? It's not a direct definition, but I'll maybe put something on the screen to explain what masking is. And unmasking is when your body is actually exhausted from trying to cover up from the fact that there is potential ADHD take place. So I do feel like there's a general state of exhaustion that I'm going through that's not going away. And it is potentially because of, an unmasking taking place. Although I feel like there's been unmasking happening since 2016 because I just stopped being able to put myself into overdrive because I really feel like I used to do that. Like I used to be able to deal with high amounts of stress. I used to be able to deal with high amounts of pressure all at the same time. Like I used to be able to exist so well in chaos, or at least I thought, and perhaps that was me masking. But now, any little thing, okay? And I go into states like I'm either super exhausted, super anxious, or like I react to any small thing that is happening in my life, never mind the big events. Um, so maybe that is what's happening and maybe it is ADHD. I'm okay with that. In a separate video, I will talk about living with Graves' disease, which is an autoimmune disease that affects a lot of things. I'm okay though, but my point was around the fact that I chronically am I'm already in a chronic do you get what I'm saying? Like I already have to take pills every day and manage a thing already related to my health. So if I had to manage something else related to my mental health, I think I would be okay with that. Let me know what you think. Do you think it's ADHD? If you think so, what do you think I should do? Or what information do you have around ADHD that I could use in order to get diagnosed? That is the end of today's video. Let me know your thoughts. I hope you liked it. It's a bit of a different format, but I'm also trying everything right now relating to mental health, having conversations, sharing, just because I need to figure out what it is that I like and what it is that people do enjoy. And I mean, I need to get to 100 plus episodes at some point. So we're going to be talking about a lot, is what I'm saying. So it's a bit of a different style. Let me know what you think. And I hope to see you in the next video.